Welcome to Straight from the Muzzle, folks, where we're anything but straight. My name is Space.
And I'm Kyra.
And we welcome you to our episode, which is about what today?
Today we're going to be talking about friendship in the fandom.
Yes.
Yes. It's a big, intimidating topic. There's a lot to say about it. We're both super excited. It's something we've all experienced for better or worse, right? Like, we all have our stories, and there's just a whole bunch to say about it.
Well, and Paradox and I tried to create a Friendship in the Fandom episode like a couple months ago, but it was way too technical and I wasn't feeling it. So I kind of just scratched the idea. But then when you brought it up again, I'm like, you know what? I think it'll work this time.
Well, the reason I brought it up is because I feel like it's something a lot of people talk to me about, not just like I have friends and here's a story about them, but a lot of people talk about finding their friends. Like, the connection between friendship and the fandom is a very strong one. Like, people tend to have stories or connections or find it that those two things are very like cohesive together. So I thought an episode on it would be really good because a lot of people also want advice on it. And we can give it our best shot, right?
Yeah. I mean, especially with all the younger people like massively joining the fandom or finding the fandom, there's a lot to kind of, I guess go over, but not necessarily like super intense. There's just some basics, that we want to cover, which we'll go over.
There's stuff that is directly related to the fandom, like specifically, and then there's stuff that's just kind of like general friendship advice or stories or our recommendations. Exactly. So it's a kind of widely applicable episode.
So how does the fandom bring people together?
Well, I feel like the fandom is so vast, right? So there's the baseline connection of like anthropomorphic animals, right? So there's a lot of people, especially older people, who found that connection from like movies, like Disney movies, stuff like that, and just were like, I'm really interested in this. I like when media has this. And that's what brought a lot of those people together. That's how like the first convention started, right? And then on top of that, then people started creating their own art. So then we have a market for not only art, like here's art of this character, but then like personas happen, and you've all seen the Ash Coyote documentary, and if you haven't, you probably should. It's really good. It's a good like history lesson of the whole fandom, but it brings people together in so many different ways. Creativity is like the driving factor for everything, and no matter who you talk to in the fandom, like those are things that people can really relate on. It's like, what's your favorite furry media? What is your persona? Or what's your favorite animal? Like, what would you want your persona to be? And who are your favorite artists in the fandom? Because that's what the concrete, baseline of this fandom is, and everything else like works its way up from that.
I also feel like in the fandom itself, it's a place for where people couldn't necessarily find friendship in their own world. Mm-hmm. So they end up finding people who are almost exactly like them, which is rare for some people.
Totally.
And they feel a connection. And this is such a great community to kind of be involved with because there's just endless opportunities, really.
Well, you find that huge queer subset, right? Not even subset. It's like the grand majority of furries are in some way queer. And if you're not, that's okay too. But it is a really accepting community. It's a very sex positive community.
I'll say.
Yeah. You guys already did that episode. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, you can find connections in a lot of different places, and I think that makes it, I don't want to say easy to make friends, but it brings people together. Even if you're not talking to people, like if you're at a convention, you don't have to go up to everybody and be like, hey, you're a furry, so am I. That's really cool. Like, just being around the presence of those people who have the same respect for that medium or this art form that you do is very validating. And from there, you can meet more people and, find more things that you have in common too.
So in any subculture, what is the importance of friendship and community? Why is that such a big deal?
It's a huge deal. And for other, communities, for other fandoms, it's media based, right? So you're at the whim of, if you're a Star Wars fan, it's whatever Disney gives you, right? And the fandom around that, gets to talk about that. And that's great. And that brings a lot of people together. And I'm not trying to like trash other fandoms, but for furry, when you are part of the furry community, like it exists because we all exist and connect together. And what I mean by that is that if one person is out of the fandom, or I guess if one person's in the fandom, right, then you make the fandom bigger. Like your direct contributions make this what it is. And that can be really fulfilling. And I think that encourages people to really like go out of their way and to donate or to celebrate and have this like mutual respect for one another and do good. And that can like really be fulfilling. Like that can make people's day. And it also just gives them a safe place to go, because a lot of these people who are in the fandom, or like whatever pocket you find yourself in, will have this sense of like mutual protection, a mutual mindset where like you feel a little safer to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about, and you won't feel judged because you can say, you know, at least I'm an animal person online with these people, so I'm not as scared to like talk about something weird or quirky about my personality, right? At least that's how I see it.
I think when really going into any type of community, just in general, whether it's, you know, Comic-Con community or trying to think, what is the brony community?
Yeah, I'd just say brony. Yeah.
Bronies.
My Little Pony.
You find a sense of awe and wonder, and you're so excited. And then, you know, what really helps navigate you through the community itself is finding others that are just like you.
Yeah.
You'll eventually find them. You may not find them right off the bat, or you may. It really just depends on each individual person, because you yourself only know what you can do. So you'll find people that are, you know, usually you'll have people that are, you know, behind the scenes, quiet. They'll have out, you know, going people. You'll find people that are just like you, shockingly enough. If you never felt like you were really supported at home, or you just don't really make friends well in school, you may find that in a community such as the furry fandom, you may find that you actually make better friends here because there are people here that understand what you're going through.
Definitely.
And that's something really unique specifically to our fandom.
And it takes time, like you said. Just because everyone's on like the same page with furry doesn't mean, you know, you're going to click with just about everybody. You do feel that energy where like everyone kind of like wants the best for each other, or there's like a mutual joy in just being around one another. So it's not quite a friendship, but like you get that like fan community where you feel accepted, and that's what friendships do too.
And the cool thing about it is that, you know, you'll eventually grow and create these friendships. You might actually meet these people in real life. You might go to, you know, fur meets or cons. You might start going to game nights that you normally wouldn't go to. You yourself might find yourself more involved in a world where you thought you wouldn't actually be involved. It's quite unique. So it's a great way to kind of like branch out of your comfort zone, but in a safe environment to do so.
Yeah, you'll always have, you know, one thing to talk about, at least at the start. And
you'll always have Jesus.
You always have furry Jesus. You'll have your persona or someone else's, or maybe a furry movie, just something. You'll have like a common thing to talk about to start, and then wherever it goes from there, it can go from there. And of course, there's a lot of like sub communities in furry that people are drawn to beyond, which I also think is super cool, because it's like, I mean, I'll use Star Wars as an example again, because I'm kind of familiar with it, but it's like, if you like Star Wars, there's sub communities, and like, I like the movies, or I like the books maybe, or I like cosplay, you know, so you can split off from that. But with furry, it can be like, I like the music, I like fursuits, I like the art, I like this specific artist, I like this specific fursuit maker, like, and what's cool about that too is all of those people who make that art, be it music or fursuits or like actual like digital physical art, those are also furries, and they're also in the fandom. So it makes everyone kind of feel like it's a big family or something. At least that's how it feels to me.
While you were talking, I was looking up on Fur Affinity Furry Jesus just to see if there was anything.
It's always Furry Jesus is always like a lion, and it makes sense, but I'm always like, shouldn't he be a lamb? Like, isn't that the whole thing?
One of the things we were talking about this yesterday when we were creating notes for this episode, and I was saying like it's funny to like go on to Fur Affinity and type in random things to see what art pops up.
We got lost on FA in the seas of FA yesterday.
But like I typed in Furry Jesus, and one of the things that pops up is this bunny Jesus with big ass like butt riding across, and she's like sweltering.
I'm crying. That's so funny.
It's so amazing.
That's so beautiful. See, that's why we're all here, right? Isn't that why we're all in the fandom? Also to laugh at stuff like that. Or maybe it brings you a lot of joy. Or both. It certainly does both for me.
I'm adding a note to the notes because I mean, shit, I can't even speak. For affinity. Got this. I don't even think I spelled that right, but whatever.
FA was my first furry social media of any capacity. Me and FA go way back.
I feel like when you join the fandom, or I guess I don't want to make it sound like a club. When you find the fandom, I think one of the most basic thing to do is to create what a lot of people know as a fur affinity account. Kind of start your bases there, find art that you like, find other people that show similar interests to you. That's where you upload all your commissions, all that jazz. And then from there, you set up like a Twitter, if you're into it, Facebook, and a bunch of other things. But we'll go over that in a minute.
I wanted to ask you, Space, where, do you feel like you can track back to when you first joined and, how you started making friends in the fandom?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can track it back. Everyone knows I found the fandom because of porn.
Happens to the best of us.
Ta-da! But shortly after doing some research, watching a bunch of videos from MFF and a few other videos, which I don't want to name the name because I don't want people to be like, oh my God, you like their videos because of controversy.
Yeah.
Whatever, people shut up. After that, I did find a local group on Facebook it was at the time called the Utah Furries. It no longer exists because it was burned. We'll just say that.
Oh, no.
Not by burn first.
Yeah.
No, it was burned. We'll just say that. And through that, I kind of got myself acquainted, started talking to a few people, participated in the group chat when that was a thing on Facebook. And then I went to my first fur meet. I can't remember if my first fur meet was at the corn maze or if it was at the zoo. It was one of those.
Both are very common fur meet locations.
Oh, yeah.
What year was this? Around-ish. Not precisely, but...
I'm going to say between 2011, 2012.
Wow. Yeah, that's around when I joined, too. Same era.
The first thing I did when I went to a fur meet is I learned everything I need to know about being a handler, and then I volunteered to be a handler for a fursuiter.
Oh, that makes sense for you, for sure.
It's because I love volunteering for stuff.
Yeah.
But it's such a cool experience, especially for a new furry. You get to kind of see what the whole essence of being a fursuiter, you help them out, you guide them, you basically just baby them. That's what you are. You're basically like a babysitter. But it's a cool way to get a perspective from their point of view, but also talk to other people who handle other fursuiters. It's a really great way to kind of get your foot in the door.
And not a lot of people, not a lot, but not everyone who goes to fur meets has a fursuit. Also, you do not need a fursuit to be a furry, and you definitely don't need a fursuit to go to a fur meet. You just have to exist.
I think that's a common misconception in the fandom is that
it totally
you have to have a fursuit, and you don't. You can be a furry for just being you. You don't even have to have a fursona.
Yeah.
If you're just comfortable with what it is, you get a fursona later when you want to, but you don't have to have a fursuit. You don't have to have that. A lot of people do. That's great. Good for them. But it's not something that defines you. It's just something that amplifies you.
And I also feel like not a lot of people are super comfortable with public suiting. So fur meets aren't always fursuit based. Yeah, it's one thing to suit, but it's another thing to suit in public. That's a big ask. That's not a convention, right? And some places a lot of malls and stuff like that, they really don't vibe with it because you have a mask covering your face and that could be trouble. So don't get in trouble for no reason.
Don't fursuit at a Walmart.
Don't fursuit in a Walmart. And please. And yeah, you definitely don't need a suit to go to a meet. I feel like most meets are just people talking face to face and just getting to know each other.
That's basically what it was. The more meets I went to, the more people I started to talk to, the more I started to create these friendships, and eventually I had friends.
Yeah.
I won't say it happened overnight, but it was something that took a couple of months that eventually now it's blossomed into a great thing. I now have what I call my found family in the furry fandom, and that's generally my found family is pretty much my podcast team, essentially. Yeah. So I feel comfortable with them. I can go to you guys for anything that I need, help with, or if I want to maybe talk something out, or if I want to try an idea, but I want to get a perspective. I mean, there's this great sense of feeling like you're part of something.
Yeah, you belong.
Yeah, it's so refreshing.
And furries are pretty chill too. I will say it can be really intimidating to like talk to people, especially like local, like to hop into a group that maybe has pre-established friendships, or like you're like, I don't want to impose, but like don't feel that way.
Yeah.
Furries, like there's both furries everywhere, and you will be surprised at how many furries there are where you live. And at the same time, like we're also a pretty niche subset of people, and it's always great to see like a new friendly face, and no one's ever going to be like, ugh, how dare you like hop in and join us. Like furries are so welcoming, and if they're not, then that just sounds like a bad person. Like every time
Exactly.
I've been introduced to a group of people, they're always like, let me get to know you, you know, come sit down with us, let's talk. So don't be afraid.
I mean, I've come across situations where I was just like, oh, I thought this of someone or this group, but it didn't work out for me. And you know what? That's
Yeah,
okay. It didn't
that's
work out. I just
okay.
move on.
There are other people out there who will definitely want to be your friend. You can't force something that's not going to happen. Some people are just kind of like, these are my friends and I'm closing it off, and it is what it is. And that's just not your problem. Like, you're not a bad person. You're not a bad friend. They're missing out by not being your friend. So just find more people who are accepting of you and want to hang out.
You know,
It'll
I
make you
just
feel so much
joined
better.
a new group. I joined, I hate the fact that I'm considered a gray muzzle, but I actually joined a Facebook group called Gray Muzzles 30 Years and Older Furs Only.
Yeah.
Really nice group. So many nice people in here. So, and
Totally.
I know one of them. I know a few of them, so it's really cool. But there's lots of fun groups that you can join and such.
And it just makes cons so much more exciting because, like, you can pop in and be like, "Oh, I know you." Like, I've like talked to you online maybe once or twice.
Let me tell you. So I've told this to Kyra already, but for those of you who don't know, whenever we have guests on the show and I run into them at the con, I get so excited because I'm like, oh my God, I got to have a picture with you. You know, we interviewed you, and then I have a time that I can kind of talk to them for a few minutes. And it's such a joy. I love doing that so much.
It's like the best feeling in the world to be like, either like we've interacted once, or I talked to so many people at AC where I'm like, I got a commission from you. My favorite experience from AC, one of them up there, was I commissioned a badge before the con, and then the person was like, well, I'll just print it out and give it to you at the con. So I got to say thank you in person, and it was an artist that I really admire. So that was really cool. And there were just so many little moments like that where it's just like, I've seen your art, or I've reposted it, or I've liked it. Or sometimes I'd be like caught blindsided because it's like, oh, that's who you are. Oh my God, like we've talked before. And they'd be like, oh, I know who you are too. And it's so much fun.
Something I like to do at cons to kind of like really like make the bond grow is if I know that a guest that we've had on prior is going to be at a con, I like to write a handwritten note. And I personalize it too, just, you know, saying thank you, you know, really enjoyed having you on the show. And if there's anything you ever need or anything like that. And I really just kind of like tailor it to them. And I do like a wax stamp and everything. And that's like my way of saying thank you.
That is so sweet. Oh my God.
It's a really cool thing. I think it's a cool thing to do.
And that like makes cons for people. That's such a memory for people to like keep forever.
Yeah.
That builds community. Like that's why we're all here, to be like, I appreciate you. It feels good to be appreciated, and it feels good to appreciate other people.
It does. How did you find the fandom?
How did I find the fandom? I feel like when I was really young and like, so like 2012, right? I was 12. I was like, furries are cringe because the internet told me I wasn't.
You were 12?
Isn't that terrible?
I just thought of that.
I was born in 2000, so whatever the year is how old I am or I'm going to be.
You're a youngin'.
I am. I'm quite young, but I was a furry quite young too. But yeah, when I was 12, I was like, the internet told me I'm not supposed to like furries, so I don't like furries. Then I remember I saw a really cute fursuit, and I always loved like Pokemon. I was on Flipnote, Hatena a lot. Like, I was a furry by proxy in so many different ways, but I was like, a fursuit? No way. That's cringe. And then I saw one, and I was like, this is the cutest thing ever. This is absolutely what I am. It was on Instagram. And then I just started drawing them. I think I made an FA. As an artist, I posted a lot to FA. Like, that was my first. But now I feel like a lot of people who are like 12 or 13 definitely just use like Instagram instead. Instagram is so much better for like somebody that age. And I didn't have furry friends though for a while. Like, I had my friends in person that were cool with it, but that's kind of different. And then I had one furry friend that I'm still very, very close with. So it was basically just me and him for a very long time, and we would send each other art. But I will say, like, it's kind of special if you are a furry to have like friends who are also furries, like people who call themselves furries, you know, because even though my other friends who I knew from like middle school were okay that I was a furry, they were like, I don't really get like see it the way you do. And
Yeah.
once I started talking to people who did, I was like, oh, okay, so I like get it now. And it made me feel, I don't want to use the word shame, but like I felt less weird about it. Or it just felt really good to be like, oh, this artist. And they were like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. And then I still really didn't have many furry friends though until I went to AC. And
Oh, air conditioning. Very nice.
yeah, when I went to air conditioning convention, which is ironic because it was boiling hot, which was only a few months ago in July, right? That was my
Do they
first
not
time
air
ever.
condition? Or are you talking about the outside or the inside?
The outside, it was like
Oh, like,
very hot.
how awful would it be if you go to like AC and the air conditioning all breaks down?
I think it may have during the fursuit parade this year, but I was like chilling outside during that time, but I heard people complaining about it. Terrible though. Like, furries need to be kept cool. I was in that headless lounge a lot because I wasn't used to it. But yeah, it was like we roomed with somebody new and, you know, she had friends and my other friend had friends and everyone wanted to make friends. And I couldn't believe it because I was like, I don't want to be weird. Like I had this internalized, like, I'm going to be the chill one. And if people like want to talk to me, then that's cool. But if not, I'll still have a great time. And there's like that saying that's like, you attract, forget how it goes. It's like, I wasn't looking for it. And then I ended up getting it, right? Because I was like, whatever happens, happens. I'm not going to force it. And I think maybe because of that, I ended up meeting a lot of really nice people. And it was really special. And now I'm like in it for good because I feel like there would be times before that I would fall out of furry for a bit and I'd be like, maybe this isn't for me or I'll be interested in something else. But after that happened, I was like, oh, this is going to be a for life thing. It was like, oh yes, but also like an oh no. Like now that I have a suit and it's all coming together, like it's furry for life for sure. So now I'm in it for good. And I don't ever see myself leaving because I think it's very special. And I've never made friends so quickly and so, like, with people who are so aligned with, like, my beliefs. Not in the way that we typically say, but just people who are just so generous and so eager to make other people happy. I think that that's my favorite part about people I've met in the fandom. Really nice.
I asked Felix the other night, I was like, because we like to watch, we do like a YouTube hour before we go to bed and we watch like, you know, a bunch of animations and cute little furry things here and there and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I'm like, do you think when we're 60, we'll still be interested in this stuff? And he's like, I think we will be.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know, it's like a little virus that gets in your brain and you can't shake it. It's terminal, I'm afraid. Like there's nothing you can really do about it.
Yeah.
Terminal furry brain. Cause it's like, even if I also had to do that to myself once I was like, okay, well, there's going to be a time in my life where I can't be doing this. But then I'm like, but I'm still going to want to like watch and like consume furry media. Like there's no quote unquote mature way to go about it. That's the whole point, isn't it? Like you can't really separate yourself from it or try to make it more adult or say like I've grown out of it, because the whole point is that life sucks. Being an adult sucks. So you can go ahead and put on the costume and, or get the art or whatever and just be silly for a little bit. And like, that's the benefit.
You know, and I think about it like, I get that like younger furs see older furs as something that like, you know, okay, it's time for you to kind of just do your thing and go away. But maybe it's not.
No, salute your furry elders. They have this fandom on their back. Like, legit.
Hell yeah, they do.
So I feel like gray muzzles, for the most part, are like the administrators of like the local chats, or you know, they're organizing the meets, you know, like they're the ones who are like for lifers. They're gonna be with it forever, so they're like, I might as well get everybody involved. I love gray muzzles. They're so nice. I've loved every single one that I've met.
You know, I've always been interested in just talking to old people that are older than me because they have really unique stories. And I find it a lot easier if I'm in person talking to older folks, just because I like to hear their stories. And I guess I call it engaging in boring talk because what's boring is truly exciting for me.
Yeah. Oh, we should have a gray muzzle episode.
Oh, we should.
Gray muzzle episode would be awesome.
Bring on like the grayest of the muzzles.
Gray muzzles, shoot us an email. We want to hear your furry origin stories. And why, more importantly, we want to know what kept you around? But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Let's go into talking about how we can create friendships in the fandom.
Yes.
So one of the big things, especially in the day and age that we live in, is social media. Social media pretty much runs everything. It's in our lives, it's in work, it's everything that we do. So we have social media at our fingertips. If you don't have a phone at home, you more than likely have access to a computer at some point. It's just kind of how it is. And it's a great way to meet people if you can't meet them directly in person. Now, interestingly enough, not everyone lives in a big city or in suburban areas. Some people actually do live in areas of the country where it's very small and minimal, and maybe it's one of those towns where it's very conservative. But this is where the internet comes into play because it allows you to join a community further than what you already live in, and then you can really start to live and feel the experience without actually having to really step out of your home, which is kind of nice.
Furry safe space.
It is a furry safe space. There's tons of different ways to do this. You can do online forums, conventions, social media platforms like we discussed. Fur Affinity is a big one.
Fur Affinity, I recommend Fur Affinity for artists especially. Like, I think it can be hard to just start out and get an FA unless you have some, like, commissions to post.
Yeah.
But I want FA to make a big comeback. I like its layout a lot. It's a little more old school. Like, I like the journals. It's cool.
It's okay. So FA is really easy to navigate. There's other like sites out there. There's like, there's DeviantArt.
Yeah.
It's hard to navigate, in my opinion, unless you're an artist and you really know what you're doing. There's another off-brand version of Fur Affinity called Weasel, which it's funny because every time FA would go down or break, everyone would go to Weasel.
Yeah.
And then when it went back up, people would leave Weasel and go back to FA.
Ink Bunny was another one too I remember.
I think that's still active, isn't it?
I think so too. FA is like, the thing about FA that's really nice though, as opposed to like DA, is it's all furry. So I think it's it's like a good hub. Like, you'll probably find most people have an FA account, even if they're not super active on it. So it's good to just like poke around there and see what there is to see.
It's kind of cool. I mean, the thing with FA though is if you're going to design like your own profile, we could honestly do a whole episode just on Fur Affinity alone, because like you go to some people's pages and it looks amazing how they've set it up. And I had to learn all the different like odd coding that FA has. They have like a forum.
It's CSS coding.
They have a couple posts on how to insert text and color and pictures and all this stuff. And it was really difficult at the beginning, but now it's like,
now it feels easy. Now I'm like, it makes you feel like a true internet like coder. Like for someone who's very bad at that stuff, it was like, now it's, now I can make that orange, and you feel so powerful.
Twitter is another good one. You can call it X, whatever you want to. I refuse to call it X because it makes me feel like I'm at a porn club.
Yeah. Yeah, Same. It feels icky to me. It will always be Twitter in my mind.
Always.
I
know there's a lot of controversy around Twitter, but truth be told, Twitter is probably one of the best social media access points for following and finding furries. Along that, there's also Facebook. I know Facebook's old. Some people are like, oh, it's Facebook. It's whatever. But again, Facebook, like Twitter, is a really good place to find groups, like local groups. You'll find that there's probably a local group in your area, if not within your county or state itself.
I'm asking this because I'm ignorant, but like, because I don't use Facebook like at all anymore. But when you say Facebook for furry, do you have like a separate Facebook for furry stuff?
No, I use my actual.
Okay.
I used to have a furry Facebook, but it kept getting shut down. So because Facebook now requires that you have to be able to prove that your name is who you are and all that stuff.
Oh, okay. That makes sense for like local stuff, especially.
But I don't really care if people know that I'm a furry or not on my Facebook. If you find it out, great. If you don't like it, I don't care.
Oh my God. Well, you said you have art on like your desk at work, right?
Yeah, I have art at my work, and then I have art at home and all that fun stuff. So I'm not hiding anything.
Yeah.
But name a city or a state, and I'll see if I can find a Facebook group.
Let's do Albany, New York, because that's not where I'm from, but it's close. It's the capital of New York. That's kind of obscure. It's not like New York City. I think there is one.
Let's see what we can find here.
This is like investigative journalism. I never thought to use Facebook.
So there's dog trainer groups.
For the puppies in the audience.
It's kind of hard that like Twitter, not Twitter, Facebook's kind of like changed its search. So I'm actually just going to go straight to Google and do
Yeah. I know that
alternate furry
I
groups.
know that there definitely is one. There is one also on FA. FA has groups. It's kind of silly. Like the groups are just profiles that people make into groups, so you can like put them on your profile. I have like a ton on mine.
Okay, so there is a group. It's called Upstate New York Furry Community,
Yep,
547 members.
that's crazy. That's a lot too.
Yeah.
I might be in that, and I just don't remember.
So it's easy to do if you don't want to do it on Facebook. Go in and type in your city, your county, or your state. Or if you're outside of the United States, type in your, I think they call them state, or I guess you could say city or country,
Yeah.
and then just see what groups pop up. Sometimes there's groups that have their own forums. Sometimes you'll find groups on for affinity and Facebook. Another popular one is Telegram.
And a huge one for groups, the way that I found all of my groups were, well, it was previously Howler, but now it's Bark.
Oh, yes. Talk about Bark.
Yeah, I really like Bark. Bark is a relatively new furry social media app, and don't let this scare you away, but it kind of operates like Grinder, but not really like that. Like it's set up, initially for like friendships. It's quite wholesome. So you put in wherever your location is, and then it shows you all of the accounts that are closest to your area that you've put. And it's really interesting because you can, you possibly be surprised, and you can make it as incognito or anonymous as you want. So maybe you work a job where you're like, I don't want my picture to show up or my real name. That's kind of like the only reason where Facebook's I'm like, oh, I don't know if I like want people to see like my real name, my real last name, my face. But Bark is really good for that because you can kind of hide that, and it has that whole proximity thing. Bark lets you put your interests in, so if you want to talk to somebody, there's a good jumping off point because you can put all your little interests in. Maybe you have like a common interest that you share. It lets you put pictures of your Sona. And what I really like is it automatically, like you can separate, if you have multiple personas, which I feel like a lot of people do now, you can separate them into almost like 2 or 3 or whatever separate folders and like put the name of the fursona in. And then you can say which of those has a fursuit, and then you can join groups. So there are groups just like the Facebook group for local stuff or this or that. And from there, like, you can access like probably a Telegram chat if I were to assume, right? But even just having those there is really cool. And you can see what people around you have joined or been in. And if you can't find the direct link to like where most people are yapping, you could just DM somebody and be like, hey, I noticed you're in this group. Would you be able to, send me the link for the Telegram chat or something like that? So I think, yeah, Bark is really cool. If you don't have one, I recommend getting it. It's 18 plus though, just to, be sure. But I've never been like appalled by anything I saw on Bark. Her affinity can be a little sometimes. Like sometimes on FA you're like, whoa, what the heck? Gotta put that safe word filter on. But even then it can sometimes be a little interesting.
Yeah.
A little kinky. But yeah, Bark is pretty cool. There is like stuff you can do 18 plus or not safe for work stuff, but it's under a filter and you have to like go through desktop stuff to enable that. So I'd say it's a pretty good bet.
There is a mirror version of Twitter called Blue Sky. It acts like Twitter, but just to kind of give you an idea, it's been out for about 1.5 years now, and they just announced that they're going to be trying to enable video posts. So that kind of just tells you where they're at technologically.
It's like not everyone. I feel like there's definitely more furs on X than Blue Sky. Like I have a Blue Sky account, but it's just sitting there in case like something ever kind of happens to Twitter. I was like, give me my username, and then whenever this ship sinks, it'll be there. But
yeah, my Blue Sky account is more or less just floating there like a boat tied to the dock.
It's our lifeboat.
It is, but I don't really necessarily use it. I just don't see a need for it right now.
Right now. But it's good to like consider or have, or there are some furs or artists that use it specifically. So I always say like, if there's an artist that you like can't find on Twitter and maybe you really want a commission from them, check Blue Sky. Definitely check Blue Sky because they might only open there.
Yeah. Discord's another one. Well, so Telegram's a really good one.
Yeah.
A lot of people use Telegram now.
I love Telegram.
Great about Telegram. I mean, there's some things in the news about Telegram, but don't worry, Telegram is not going anywhere. It's not going to be shut down.
Yeah.
But the great thing about Telegram for a couple of things is one is that it's basically really completely confidential.
It's encrypted.
It's encrypted, meaning that every message you send and stuff has like this tail of random encrypted code to it that is impossible to hack, essentially.
Yeah.
So you never really have to worry about that. But The great thing about Telegram is it's very universal. There's lots of groups on there, channels where people post things. So like conventions have taken advantage of this where they'll create channels for announcements.
Channels are like a group that you can't respond to, but you can
Exactly.
like react. And that's super useful for conventions, like you said, especially because like if there's ever an emergency or typically just like an announcement, they'll post it on the Telegram first and then everyone gets it at the same time. So I remember like at Anthrocon this year, I had all my friends join early, and then when they announced the numbers, we saw that it was the biggest furry convention ever in the world. We like all got to celebrate a little bit, but it was nice. Like we all got that at the same time. We all texted each other like, "Oh, we were there," you know. It's great. Always join, you know, channels like that. And then yeah, there's like groups for local stuff and anything else really.
Like our podcast, we have a group for all of our listeners to come into. Currently has 180 members. It's constantly going on. Like sometimes I'll wake up randomly in the middle of the night, like at 3 a.m. in the morning, and there are people talking there. And I'm just like, people, go to bed.
Our fans are yappers. It's okay though, because so are we.
But they're good people in there, and they generally care. So
yeah, we should post a link. Do we usually put a link to the Telegram in the
we always do
description? Yeah, even if you're like, oh, I don't know, just join it. Just don't be scared. Just join it. Just take a look.
There's also Discord. Discord's the highly complicated version of Twitter or Telegram.
Yeah.
It's mainly built for gaming, but you can use it for other instances like groups and talking to each other. I find it very confusing to navigate. Yeah. I only use Discord if I absolutely have to. For instance, I'm volunteering at BLFC. So they use Discord for like meetings and some announcements, but they also use Slack. So I have to use Slack and then Discord for certain chatter. And then I can use the Telegram for other types of chatter. It's a lot.
Yeah, Discord it can be kind of complicated. Like there are people who are like experts in Discord. Like they could teach a college class on how to use Discord. Me, I'm like, yeah, it's a group chat. It's really good for really big group chats because you can break down the conversations into like little sections. So it'll be like, all the memes go here. Like, if you want to post a song, just put it here. So if you have group chats with like hundreds of people, it can be a good way to streamline all of that. But Telegram, for some reason, I feel like a lot of people in general have Discord, and then like most furries have Telegram. Something about Telegram, I don't know. I think it's the stickers too. Telegram lets you use the stickers, and then people will get
stickers.
People will get commissions of like their persona, and stickers are also like a virus where if you like someone's stickers, you can use them yourself if you like hold down the sticker and save the pack, and then you have all of those stickers to use. So that's always fun, like talking to new people, and they'll hit me with like a sticker I've never seen before that makes me laugh, and I'll be like, I'm going to use this for the rest of my life.
I laugh so hard when people are like, you don't have permission to use my sticker. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but it's on Telegram and they're allowing you to save it and use it. You really don't have a say on that, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
If you didn't want it to be shared, don't create the sticker.
I collect them, I feel. Well, also, like, you could just say, I don't know, like, you could send it as a picture, I guess, but that's also kind of silly. Like, I'm pro sharing Telegram stickers with everyone, unless, like,
Same.
They're using your sticker in a bad way, I guess, but, like, how could you do that? Like,
I've found a couple of groups, like furry groups, that specifically just post Telegram stickers for specific reactions.
Yeah.
That you can go in there and just download.
I like ones that are like poorly drawn MS Paint art. Those always happen to be my favorite. I like have a nice back of my persona that I use a lot, but I kind of want like some crispy, like MS Paint terrible ones. And I worry that I'll use those a lot more than the ones I spent a lot of time doing. But those are my favorite commissions to do. I've had many times where someone will send me a Telegram sticker and it will be a sticker I drew. And I'll be like, I drew that. And they'll be like, oh my God, no way. So that's always really fun. Like they really spread like wildfire. You never really know where your stickers will end up. But That's like why, that's very indicative of the fandom itself. It's like you put art into the world and you never know where it's going to go. But it's going to circulate for sure.
Once you start to get yourself associated with all these different options for social media, then comes the fun part, but also the hard part, talking. It's a natural thing for us to do, is to talk from one human being to another, but also there's a lot of awkward people out there.
Yes, furries are especially awkward and kind of nerdy.
Especially awkward. And so conversations basically when when you're talking with someone, you're trying to get to know them. Don't just talk about yourself. Let them
Don't.
talk as well. It has to be a two-way street.
100%. And like, if you want to get to know somebody, like, you should also be interested in them, you know? And I'm sure that if they want to be, you know, your friend, they'll be interested in you and ask. I always say, like, ask questions. That's a good way to, like, break things down. And there are a lot of, you know, if you notice that you're one of those people and you're like, dang, like, I like to talk about myself, or I have special interests or hyperfixations, and I tend to, like, really go on and on and on about them, like, that's still really cool, and like that's a part of yourself, and I don't think that you should like stop liking what you like or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. But like remembering just to like ask questions about that person when they tell you something, because I see a lot of conversations now where it's just people talking at each other, not to each other.
Yeah.
Like, make the effort, even if you don't necessarily want to. You'll find yourself being more invested in the conversation later if you make it a two-way street.
And I hate that I love my mom, but there are certain things I just don't like about my mom. But the one thing I always remembered her saying is, don't verbally vomit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's generally meaning like someone who just talks and keeps talking, that's verbally vomiting.
Let the other person get a word in.
Yeah.
It's super important. And furries love to yap. But like we said earlier, surely you'll have some common ground, which is the best feeling. Like that's what makes the best friendships, because it's mutually fulfilling, because you both get to talk about something that you both like. And that's kind of like, that's a really good like way to meet people for the first time, is be like, you like this thing? I like this thing. What do you like about this thing? And then they can tell you, and then they'll say, well, what do you like about this thing? And then, that's a very like simplified way of breaking it down, but it's kind of a foolproof method. And then you can see where it goes from there.
Absolutely.
So yeah, another really wonderful thing that a lot of people talk about when it comes to the furry friendships they've made is that I've heard a lot of people tell me and express this otherwise, that furries are really good at understanding where people come from when they have various, mental health struggles or quirks or things that make them different that maybe like a non-furry would not recognize. So, in the episode that you guys interviewed me in, I talked a fair bit about autism.
Yep.
I've met a lot of autistic furries where furry is like their special interest. It's like their favorite thing in the world. It's all they want to talk about. And it being there for them, like being in the fandom, like, of course, like other people want to talk about it too. It's a safe space. It's a really good way for people to express themselves through art and everything like that. But on the flip side of that, like, I wanted to talk more about maybe like the anxiety, depression side of things, where furry is really joyful and people always describe it as being, like a bright spot in their life when the adult day-to-day is kind of miserable, but they have this like technicolor thing that they can retreat to. And that's not to make anybody sound, be like, well, you need this childish thing to make you feel better. It really isn't like that at all. Like, there's a lot of nuance and there's a lot of like people who care. I think that people don't come back because they're like, people can think animation is cool. I don't think that's childish to begin with, right? But that's a common criticism that furries get. No, not at all. But on top of that, on top of like respecting art and artists in all capacities, there's respecting people who treat other people very well. And I think that furry is something that a lot of us come back to, because the world can be a really scary place and it can make a lot of us feel kind of hopeless because we see a lot of bad stuff. Like, you turn on the news and it's just like, man, like people really are not kind to each other. And it's one of those few things where you can go on social media and I'm often happily surprised with, people taking care of each other, or people helping each other reach their goals, or there's a fundraiser, or someone made somebody gift art, or this or that. Like, it's a little hopeful spot, and surrounding yourself with people who try and make the world a better place in, an albeit unconventional way can make you feel a lot better at the end of the day. Like, you don't ever really want to go to bed on a bad note. And I think furry for me is just like, well, maybe I had a bad day, but someone reached their goal and now they get to move, or someone finally finished that big art piece they were working on, or somebody finally sold that fursuit head that they were working on for ages and it sold for a high price or something. Like, it's a way to find joy in a dark world, and being able to talk to other people about that. Like, if you have friends that aren't furries, it's kind of hard to go back to them and be like, did you see that fursuit had sold that I really liked? Or did you see that so and so? You know, you need people kind of in the in group to talk about that with and share that joy. There was something going around recently that was a joy shared is twice the joy, and a sorrow shared is half a sorrow. And I feel that no stronger than in furry, where when we hype each other up, it feels like it just adds and adds and adds. And then when somebody can, you know, talk to their friends, or when I talk to my friends about something that's maybe happened, it feels like they all help me kind of take that weight off my shoulders. I don't know if you've experienced that. I'm sure you have.
Oh, yeah, I have.
Like, it's great.
I mean, so recently, some people know because I've said it in Telegram. And of course, I just made an announcement on Twitter. But as of recently, I had a medical emergency where I had a blood clot. And
Scary.
it was scary. It was so painful. It's not removed. It's an ongoing treatment and stuff. But I felt really weak in that moment. Physically, I was exhausted mentally. And then also, I just kind of felt like just unable mentally to really deal with it. But I reached out to my staff, and you guys have been so great because you've all sent like wonderful messages, and you've all been checking up on me. And it's just something that you can't put a price on that.
Yeah. What would we do without our dear Space Bear? What would we do? Of course. And I think some people worry like, oh, I don't want to like burden my friends with this or that, but with something like that, you know, it makes somebody on the other side feel valuable as a friend. Like you would come to me and in this kind of like uncertain time. And I don't know, it helps everybody in that case, because you kind of get to vent or talk about what you're scared of or frustrated about or your day. And everyone gets to chime in and kind of build each other back up again. So you need that. Everybody does. And
it's a good support group.
It is a great support group. Furries are good supporters.
Have there been any times that you've gone through that are tough where your friends in the fandom have really supported you and turned it into a better experience?
So a few months before AC, I like had the worst breakup of my life. Like I won't get into it too much, but it was like horrible. It was like beyond, it took me by surprise. It was like very not good, right? And the way it ended was terrible. And like we were set to move in and then it all kind of crumbled, right? And my one furry friend, before even the convention happened, he reached out to me and was like, hey, I'm going to like drive like many, many hours and just come visit you. And I was like, you don't have to, like whatever. And he was like, no, I'm coming. So he showed up and like we got dinner and we talked about all kinds of stuff. But like he was like, let's just get your mind off of it and then we'll do the convention. And I wasn't planning on going to AC. The reason that I did is because like my car couldn't handle it. So I never planned on it. I was thinking about like maybe Philadelphia, and he was like, nope, we're going to go to AC and it's going to be great. And you're going to have a great time. And of course I was like, I don't know, we'll see. I was still kind of down in the dumps because it takes time too. Like you can't just like force someone to feel better. That's important too. But I like let somebody take care of me. And that is a lesson that a lot of people need to learn. Like just let people take care of you because sometimes you need it. And you can't just be like super strong all of the time. If somebody is reaching out to you and says, you're important, you're my friend, let me just do something nice for you, get your mind off it, whatever, just say yes and just let it happen. And it was great. And it was after that, I was like, I remember turning to him at the end and I was like, this is the happiest I think I've ever been in my entire life. Like this was a dream of mine since I've been 12 and now I'm here and it's crazy. And like we did it together. And that was not like a big moment. It was a big moment for the, like, for me is like my furry journey, right? It was like, whoa, that's kind of come full circle. But
yeah.
it was kind of like the final nail in the coffin for that grieving process where I was like, I've met so many people here, so many new friends. Because when you're fresh out of a breakup, a lot of times it's just like, I'll never meet some people who vibe with me again, who are like,
you kind of go down a spiral.
Yeah, I was like, not only is it like relationship based, but I was like, I didn't want to reach out to new people. I was just like, what's the point? But then seeing all those people in person and have them be so friendly, I was like, oh, there are good people in the world. And there's a lot to look forward to. And there's a lot of people in furries I've never even met yet that are out there and like want to be friendly. So yeah, I would definitely say so. Like, let people take care of you. Let furries take care of you. We all like to take it. We're all people pleasers now. And we all like to take care of each other, but let it happen and let yourself be that person who goes through the process yourself. Don't like force yourself to be strong and rigid all the time.
So going along with personal experiences, going back with when I had the blood clot, in the beginning stages of that, well, what I think of the beginning stages, it could have formed a lot longer than that. When my leg was like, I was in so much pain, but I had a friend reach out and he's just like, hey, I'm really feeling lonely. And, there's other things going on. I was wondering if I could just come over and watch a movie with you. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? Of course, in my head, I'm like, sweet. It's a good distraction, but it was a good time. He came over, we watched a movie, had some laughs, just kind of talked. It was really nice because it's not something this individual has done before. So I really cherished the moment. And then about a couple of days later, I shared with his husband that I had gone to the emergency room and all the things that were going on. And then out of nowhere, he messaged Felix and he's like, hey, do you mind if I just stop by for a minute? And I'm like, I'm not sure. And then Felix is like, yeah, just let him stop by.
Yeah.
And so his husband stopped by because his spouse was then sick. So, he couldn't come over either. But he stopped by and he brought me a card and he brought me an orchid and we kind of just had a little chat. And I'm just like, oh my God,
that's so sweet.
This is so beautiful. And I still have the orchid. So it was a unique bonding experience.
And did you notice in that moment you were like, no, don't come over. Like, it's okay. Like, you don't have to, right? Like, you kind of put your wall up and you're like, no. Like, I don't want to be a bother.
Exactly. I didn't want to be, but they wanted to come over.
Exactly.
I always feel like, with friendships and stuff, there are a couple of doors in my world where friendships have closed, but I'm a true believer in the saying that when one door closes, another one opens.
Absolutely.
And I feel like I've closed the door on a few what I thought were close relationships, but really aren't. But the doors have opened to a couple of other possibilities. I feel like these two incidences were those possibilities that just I wasn't expecting. And then another door opened where we're going out with some friends that I really haven't gotten, we're friends with, but I haven't really had the chance to get closer. And I feel like we're getting closer now. So it's a really unique friendship is weird because it's good. It has its ups and it has its downs, but overall, it's just something you need. Everyone needs a friend.
That's what that My Little Pony 4th gen is called. My Little Pony Friendship is Weird.
Is it really?
No, it's Friendship is Magic. But it's magic and it's weird, for sure. A bit of both. You have to go with the flow. I think that sometimes, like, there are friendships that you just kind of have to throw your hands up and be like, we just didn't, like, vibe together. Like, we just didn't connect. It had nothing to do with either of us. No one did anything wrong. It's just, like, we didn't click. If you don't click, that's okay. There's no harm in, like, dropping that because you don't want to, like, force. It shouldn't feel hard. It should feel so easy. When you'll know. With people. You'll
know when it feels forced. You'll know when you feel like you're awkward and you're just like, I don't know if this is really working. And if that's the feeling you're having, then just move on.
But then sometimes, there are friendships too that are more of like toxic friendships, right? Where someone's taking advantage of you or asking for money or like, be aware of noticing those red flags or, maybe they're guilting you into something. And I always say, I had a friend say this to me a long time ago because I was like, oh, I feel really bad that I can't be their friend anymore, but it's just, it got too much. And my friend was like, you know what? It's trimming the fat. It's like, you're just trimming the fat. It's, it's going to make everything so much better. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Just let it go. And now I've always said that, like, oh, okay, you know what? I think I just have to trim the fat on this one and come to terms with the fact that it's not going to work and that person isn't going to change. Because some people just don't want to change and you can't fix them. They are who they are.
I've recently stopped chasing a friendship. Yeah. I've been chasing it for a long time. And then because I chased it, I was setting myself up to an expectation that was impossible for a return. And probably within the last year, I've decided just to stop.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of in a way distancing myself from them. We're still friends, but I wouldn't say I necessarily trust them with personal information anymore. I just don't share it. And that happens, and that's okay. It's sad when it does happen, but like I said, when a door closes, another one opens.
Absolutely.
It always does.
And it's okay to have acquaintances too. Like, you don't have to be best friends with everybody in the fandom. Also because, oh my God, like there.
I don't know how Poppy first do it.
right? Like, there are times when I'm like, I can't respond to everybody. And also, like, don't take, like, super duper offense if, like, maybe you're talking to somebody and they can't get back to you, or don't feel really guilty if you can't reach out to somebody because you're busy that day. Like, it shouldn't feel like that. It should feel easy. You should have confidence in the friendship will last if, like, you can't respond for a day or two, right? Because, like, everyone has a life and can't be on the computer all day long forever. So don't get too worried about stuff like that. I find myself getting really nervous about that stuff. Like, I'll be like, damn it, I didn't go on my phone all day because I was busy at, like, school or something. And I'm like, you know what? Like, it was important that I had to do my work. So it is what it is. Those people are still my friends and they understand. That's, like, hard about the fandom being so online. Like, you get a lot of online friendships and then you have to, like, keep tabs on everything, but don't get too stressed out.
Yeah. It happens. Life happens.
Life happens for sure.
It's also important when you're building these relationships that you have a mutual respect for both of each other.
It's so important. It's like, it couldn't be more important. Nothing is worse than, like, when you're kind of talking to somebody and you're like, okay, maybe, like, I could be friends with this person, and they just kind of do something and they're like, oh. And that could be a whole bunch of things. Like, sometimes it's like they're taking it in a weird direction, or they'll ask you a very inappropriate question, anything like that. Like, you have to say no, or be like, that made me uncomfortable or something, but you just can't. Even if you really want to be friends with that person, you're allowed to be like, I didn't like that.
Like, don't be afraid to say no.
Yeah, 100%. Never be afraid to say no. And, like, you don't have to be super mean about it either. Yeah. You can be polite about it. It might just be an honest mistake.
It's okay to say no. Don't be afraid to say no. But also, you also need to respect your friends, you know, not necessarily all their opinions and stuff, but you need to respect them for who they are.
Yes.
You may not like some of the things that they do. That doesn't make them a bad person, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't cut the friendship from there. There's always going to be things that you don't like about your close friends, but that doesn't mean that's worth, you know, stopping the friendship and moving on from that. It's just learning to adapt to it and then kind of going from there.
Yeah, it makes your life more interesting to have people with a whole, you know, bunch of different, you know, quirks and personalities, even if sometimes, you know, they might, like, express a pet peeve here and there, right? As long as it's not constant or something like that. But always respect, you know, your friends and their opinions and their intelligence. Don't talk down to your friends. That's good, solid advice. I think that it needs to be repeated a lot because...
And this kind of goes into, like, our next little bit, which is how to approach new people, both online and in person.
Don't just say hi.
And how to handle conflicts and disagreements, because that's a big thing, I find.
A huge, especially on social media. Well, so much of our communication as, like, social creatures is done through body language and facial expression, and a lot of it is, like, subtle or subconscious. And I don't think that that's 100% of the reason why people go so crazy on social media, but I think that it's at least part of it because we give each other a lot more grace when we're standing in front of, like, a real life living breathing person. And that's why, like, you should never break up with anybody over the phone or, like, anything like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
always do that type of stuff. But I get it too, because, you know, maybe you're a furry who lives in a really isolated town and, like, a lot of your friends are online, so it can be hard. And in those cases, I would recommend just, like, taking the extra effort to give your friends the grace that they deserve, give them the benefit of the doubt, ask clarifying questions, be like, what did you mean when you said that? Or also, don't be afraid to say, like, hey, it hurt my feelings when XYZ, but I'm getting ahead of myself. When you're approaching new people online or in person, I'm trying to think, like,
the best way to do this is think about how you talk to people in real life is how you should be talking to people online. It is no different. The only really big the difference in this really is that one's an online thing where you're behind a computer, but you should still be treating people the exact same way you would talk to them in real life.
Yeah, be polite.
There's no excuse.
Be kind. Be generally friendly. Don't try to approach somebody with, like, you were wrong about that. Like, you know, approach them, extend your hand in kindness, and if they don't do it back, don't be offended. That's a good thing too. Like, if people don't give you the response that you were looking for, don't be like, and screw you then. I see that happen with artists a lot. Like, because, or like popufers or what have you, because people will be like, you're cool, I want to be your friend. And then they won't either respond at all, or they won't respond in the way that that person was expecting. And then the person will get very angry at them. It's like, you have to give them the benefit of the doubt.
They're busy people.
They're busy people. We're all busy people. Just because they couldn't, get back to you the way they wanted, or you wanted them to. It's okay. You'll find another friend. Maybe it wasn't meant to be, or it's not going to work out that way.
I feel when people have conflicts or disagreements, it's mostly not in person. It's mostly online.
It is mostly online.
I think what happens is in person, the manners, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate for the most part. But when you're at your home and you're on your computer, behind your phone, whatever it is that you're doing and you're connecting online, it's like for whatever reason, they decide those rules no longer apply. And I can say whatever I want and I can be whoever I want to be. And sure, you can do that, but be prepared to burn a lot of bridges in more ways than one.
And it's also like, it's the internet. Like, whatever you say online is there forever. So
exactly.
It might bite you quite badly in the butt someday, which isn't great. And I think people are allowed to have firm boundaries about things that like make them deeply uncomfortable, be it like a personal trigger that's just for them, or like overall something that they're opposed to, or this or that. But like the block button exists for a reason, because if you spend your time online monitoring people who upset you, or like following them for a reason, or like, if you have like friends that you're not friends with anymore, or exes, and you're like, I need to keep tabs on them, I need to figure out what they're doing, or if they're talking about me, like,
you have way too much time on your hands.
There's too much time. Just block them. They're out of your life, so keep them out of your life. Like, you don't have to have this constant monitor over them. It's only going to affect you negatively if that person's living in your head rent free. It's not going to be good for you or anybody involved. And publicly being like, well, this and that, and like, I'm not going to go into a whole call out culture thing, because I think there's a lot of nuance to that. But I'm talking generally, like, if somebody bugs you or like upsets you online, and like going back and forth and having these spitting matches over something that's really not important. There are people that I'll run into on Twitter here and there. I'll be like, oh, I remember you because you were going back and forth like crazy with somebody not too long ago. Like, and that's never going to go away because it's attached to your persona, So just be careful. You're allowed to disagree. You're allowed to have opinions. You're allowed to have strong opinions, but just know that how you express those in a public setting will be attached to you and your username and your character forever.
And here's something to consider too, because this happens a lot and it's very frustrating on your end. Sometimes you get blocked and you have no idea why.
Yep.
And you may never find out why, but that makes you mad. And of course, when you're mad, you want to go and tell people about it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that because of the reason the person blocked you, they're a bad person. Don't go bad mouthing them. You can try figuring out why it happened, but I wouldn't get all burnt out about it.
My perspective on that changed forever not too long ago, because when I was younger, that used to drive me crazy, because total people pleaser, like I wanted everyone to like me so much all of the time. And somebody blocked me and I was like, oh my God, like, and I didn't reach out to them, but it just haunted me because I was like, what did I do? What did I say? I'm a bad person. But it turns out, like, I saw somebody, a different person, but still, and they were like, I just blocked everybody who posts food pictures because I'm going on a diet. And I was like, it can be that simple. Like, it can be that silly. And, that person's valid for doing that, right? But I'm just like, oh, it's not something I necessarily did. Like, it doesn't make me a bad person if I'm blocked. I needed, like, to figure that out for myself. So, yeah, don't, like, get yourself in a tizzy about it, because usually it's just like, whatever. Like,
I have come across, like, instances. There's one, I still think to this day, I think it's really unfair how they're treating people. But there's really nothing I can do. The best thing I can do is just move on and just try to forget about it. But there was, I don't even know if they live in Utah anymore, but at one point there was a fursuit maker that lived in Utah. They made really cool, like, kangaroo suits, like amazing ones. And I really liked them. And I started following them on Twitter, for Affinity, I think somewhere else. And then one day, up and out of the blue, I was blocked. And I don't understand why. And so I tried messaging them and I'm like, I don't understand why I was blocked. Did I say something that upset you? And I never got these answers. And then I was telling the story to someone. They're like, oh, the reason you got blocked is because you're associated with a friend. And
Oh,
the whole
yeah.
thing is this fursuit maker had things against certain people in Utah. And if you were friends with that person, you were guilty by association, regardless if you did anything or not. And you were instantly blocked. They never gave me a reason as to why they did anything. I did try to say like, oh, if there's anything I can do to like make amends, or I'm not sure what I did that was wrong, but I never got that response back. And it eats me up to this day because it's really frustrating. It's like, how frustrating is it to like not know why someone up and just stopped talking to you or blocking you? All
Yeah.
you kind of want is that little bit of resolution, even if it was just them saying, look, I just don't see this relationship going anywhere. I don't
Yeah.
see this or that and the other. It would just be nice if they had said that just so that I had some sort of closure, but I don't have that closure.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Just to be like, why the heck? But there are also things on Twitter, like there are block lists. So it's like robot generated, or it can be user generated too, but it's kind of done like quickly and hastily where, I mean, not all the time, but sometimes, right? They'll get lists of like a person who they don't want to follow anymore, and then all of the people that that person was following. And then that's a block list. And then other people can basically like copy paste that and just block all those people. So you were probably part of one of those things just because you were like following somebody or mutuals with somebody. And it's, if people want to do that, then sure, I guess just for like their, like it's your social media, you can customize it however, but I always recommend to keep an open mind with people. Like if someone hasn't done something really bad personally to you, or like there's proof of them doing something that's like morally terrible, then I typically say keep an open mind, but that's just me. You're allowed to do whatever you want. But do what you can to make your time in the fandom the best time it can be, and to like maximize surrounding yourself with people that make you feel good instead of people that make you feel bad. Because spending most of your time, if you feel like you spend most of your time online and you come away with it upset more often than not, instead of like feeling good about it, you should rearrange who you're following.
Exactly.
Like, as is. Do some construction in there.
Now, before we end this episode, we do have 3 very important things that you should always keep in mind when building a friendship in general.
For sure. In any capacity.
Yeah.
Furry or not.
So why don't you talk about the first one?
The first one is that friendships can't be forced. Don't be afraid to set boundaries. So that is 2 things that we kind of went over, but it's good to reinforce it because it's just so, you see it so often, and sometimes you really put together in your head, like, I really want to be friends with this person. We have so much in common. I think we'd be perfect friends. And then you talk to them or you don't talk to them and it just doesn't work out. And depending on the type of person you are, you can either beat yourself up or like feel upset at the other person for not reciprocating. But at the end of the day, it can't be forced either way. And also there are people who might really want to be friends with you and you're just like, I don't think I want to be friends with that person. And that's okay too. Don't force it. Can't force yourself to be friends with somebody that you don't want to be friends with. And in either of those sides, don't be afraid to set that boundary and just say, like either let it peter out naturally, or if someone says something that makes you uncomfortable, don't be afraid to say it. So, have that respect for yourself and for that other person, and don't force it. Don't force your friendships.
Friendships should be organic. If you're really forcing it, is it really a friendship?
Yes. Exactly.
The next one, I think it's funny because you and I, everyone knows how this feels. It's so annoying. It's one of the annoying. It's one of the pet peeves of the fandom. I think it's like probably one of the biggest pet peeves in the fandom. And that's just, don't just send a message that says hi or hey or hello to someone that you don't talk to regularly.
I'm on my hands. I'm on my paws and knees begging you guys, don't do this ever. It's so annoying and strange and parasocial and odd. And I see people do it when they want to get a commission done too. And if someone's in my DMs like, hey, I'm never going to know. I'm never going to know if you want art from me, and I'm never going to respond to it.
Like, what does that mean? Hey, like, are you trying to engage in a conversation? What are you doing? Like, when we had a Facebook group for our podcast, we would get so many like messages, people just saying hi. And I'm like, well, hello, welcome. Who are you? And they would never respond back. And I'm like, oh, this is so frustrating. Like, if you're going to message someone, have a purpose for it.
Yes. Don't get us wrong. You can say hello, but follow up with some type of like action or request or question, like something. You can say, hi, I just wanted to say that I really like your fursuit and you really inspire me, period. Maybe
Or
that
hello.
person will never respond to you, but at least it's a cohesive and coherent message.
Things that I get a lot every once in a while on Telegram is, and this is how you should conduct it. Hi, my name is so and so. I've been following or listening to your show and I really love this. And then they either engage further in a topic and then I'll talk with them for a little bit, but don't just be like,
Yeah.
hi.
Do not just hit people with the hi.
Generally, people send a message just saying hi to me. I usually just kind of dismiss or delete the message.
Well, now at this point in like the internet's lifespan, I always just assume it's a bot. So I'm always
Yeah.
like, I'm concerned for my computer. If I just get a hi, I'm like, I'm not going to open that. It's probably going to be like booby in bio or something. Try and get me to open some suspicious link that I don't want to open. There's a sugar daddy scam going around on Telegram too. And there's a lot of furries who will scam asking to like do rooms together for conventions. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm not an expert, but just kind of be wary of like what DMs you respond to, or if there's like links involved, or just make sure it's like a real person on the other end.
And the last one, this is probably the most important one of all. And this goes across the whole board in the fandom. Never, ever break the trust.
Never.
The trust is sacred. It sounds stupid, but it is what it is. When you're building a friendship and it starts to involve in things, people start to share personal things with you. But the moment you break that trust and you go behind their back and you say something, it's almost unforgivable. At that point, you might be able to move on, but it will never be the same as it was before.
Yeah. Friendships are so built on that if you screw it up once,
special.
It's going to be different forever. Like there's no coming back from it. It is what it is. You've made it, or they've made it too. Like, you're allowed to forgive, but don't like, it's not wise to forget.
Yeah. It's like when you're dating with someone and then you cheat on them,
Yep.
right? And then you say you're never going to do it again. Well, here's the thing. The opposite individual is always going to wonder, will they cheat on me again?
Yeah. It's going to be different every single time. You're
going to question things. That's what happened to me. The trust was broken with a relationship, and I just don't feel like that's why I've started to distance myself.
Yeah. It's happened to so many of us in like big and small ways, but I'm sure anybody listening can think back to a time or a person when that's happened and they felt that betrayal.
Exactly.
And it's like, can you go back on that? Well, no, because it actions speak louder than words. They always will. That is determinant of your character more than anything you could ever say. Even if you're the best writer ever in existence and you could write out the best apology, it's just going to be, that's who you are now.
Yeah.
You've made your decision.
Overall, making a friend is not very hard to do.
No.
It's a very simple process. It starts by saying, hi, I'm so-and-so. And the other person says, hi, I'm so-and-so. And then the conversation starts. It's being willing to make that conversation. It may not always go anywhere you want it to go. It may be something where you just get blocked instantly for no reason, but it doesn't hurt to start the friendship wherever you can find it.
Yeah.
And when you do make that friendship, I can guarantee it will be amazing.
It'll be a spark. You will know. Like, you will know, like, I click with this person. This is like a me person.
If you guys ever have questions about friendships, or maybe something's happening and you don't know what to do, or maybe you want to try to approach a situation or you're not sure, you can always email us at talktothemuzzle@gmail.com and just ask us. If you don't get an immediate response, because I don't immediately respond, I usually save up emails and then we'll read them out loud and kind of answer them when we do a Fangasms episode. You can always try reaching out to any of us in the Telegram group. Any given time, we're more than likely in there talking. Yeah. And either the people in the chat can help you out, or I'll see it and then I'll pop a message over and be like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
So you can follow us on Twitter, which is @FromTheMuzzle. We have a Blue Sky, but I don't really give a point of advertising it, because
if the ship sinks, though, you'll know where to find us.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And is there anything else you want to cover before we let go?
No. My friends are like my personal treasure. I don't know where I'd be without my friends. And if you are my friend, I love you, and thank you for being my friend. And Space, you are my friend too, so thank you so much. And this has been so wonderful.
It has been. We thank you guys all for listening to this episode. And if you have comments or you want to have us cover topics that we haven't done before, like I said, just send us an email or contact us on Telegram. But other than that, you guys all have a fantastic day, and we'll see you guys on our next episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye.